Hello everyone, Lindsay McCowan here. So today I just wanted to do a brief video on the 5 principles of wise speech. And sometimes this is called right speech. And this comes from the Buddhist teachings, so the teachings of the Buddha. And I wanted to talk about this today because it doesn't matter what religion you follow, what spiritual tradition you follow, if any. These are principles that all of us can apply in our daily lives that will really help us lessen the noise that is coming in from around us and coming from us, because we can all agree that there is so much information that we are inundated with, and a lot of it is not quality information. And we can all agree that if there was a little bit less noise out there, maybe there would just be a little bit more inner peace within our lives, within us. So let's just go ahead and talk about this. Have you ever heard the common phrase, or maybe even your mom told you this when you were growing up, that to think before you speak? Could you just think before you speak? Now imagine what that would be like if we actually did that still to this day and did this every day, where we stopped, we paused, we took a breath, like, okay, what am I getting ready to say? Okay, and so we're going to actually use the acronym THINK, or THINK as an acronym, to help us remember these principles. So the first one, T, this stands for, is it timely? So when you stop and you pause and you take a breath, you can ask yourself, okay, is what I'm getting ready to say, is it timely? And I'll write this up here for us so you can remember. Timely. Is it timely? So think about this. How often has someone been in such a rush to share something with you? You're just like, what? Why are you even sharing this right now? This isn't the right time or place to be sharing what you're sharing. It doesn't even really fit this conversation. Or you might just be too overwhelmed or inundated with already enough information, and so it's not timely. So we have to ask ourselves the same questions, like, okay, is what I'm getting ready to share, is this the right time to share? Is the person that I'm wanting to share this information with, can they even receive it in this moment? Because maybe they're overwhelmed, maybe they're too anxious, maybe they're too upset. There's too much grief or sadness flowing through them that they can't possibly take in anything, even if you mean good by it. So we ask ourselves, is it the right time? Is it timely? Okay, so that's the T. Let's move on to the H in our THINK acronym. So this one, the question we would ask ourselves when we stop and we pause and we breathe, is it honest? Is what I'm getting ready to share really honest? Is it truthful? Okay, so how many of you, and this is a chance for you to be honest with yourself, how many of you have ever had like this story or this experience that you wanted to share, this information that you came across, and you just really want to make sure the person that you're sharing it with gets it, like that really get it. And so what we do is we embellish the story. And sometimes we've embellished the story so much that it's barely even truthful. So this is it honest? So, and can we share what we want to share in less words? Take out all the embellishments. Take out, all the little white lies or whatever it is that really is not 100% truthful. And then can you imagine what that would be like if the information that someone was sharing with you, the information that you were reading, the information that you were sharing was just, just honest. And it doesn't have to be like that harsh honesty, like that's just hurtful. That the H does not stand for hurtful honesty. It just is honest, like from a really good, warm, caring place. Okay, so then the next one in our acronym THINK is the I, and that stands for insightful. Insightful. Okay, so when obviously we absorb a ton of information throughout our lives. We're acquiring knowledge all the time. And the question is this knowledge that's coming in, are we starting to learn from that knowledge? Are we starting to embody it? or is it starting to become wisdom? Because when it starts to move from knowledge to wisdom, then we can glean really good insights from the information and knowledge that we're acquiring. So when we share something, when we stop and we pause and we breathe, it's like, okay, is what I'm sharing coming from an insightful place? Or am I just regurgitating something that someone else has shared with me and I haven't really even taken time to deeply reflect upon it? Or to ask, is this even truthful to me? Do I even really need to share this? And sometimes, and it's not to say that we can't have casual conversations and, have fun and all that, but we're talking about in this broader perspective, when there's so much information coming in and we're sharing so much information, what if we took time to be more discerning on the information that we decided to share and shared more of the information that has really good insight to it and less of the fluff? Because, I think we can all agree there's a lot of fluff out there and it's just too much, okay? So, or it can feel like too much. The next one is the N in our think acronym. So, the N stands for, is it necessary? So you stop, you pause, you breathe, you ask yourself the question, is what I'm getting ready to share, is it necessary? Is it even beneficial to share this information? Or if I'm just sharing it from an egoic perspective, because that happens a lot too. We just really love to hear ourselves talk. The most beautiful sound, it is said, this, psychologists and neuropsychologists say this, that the most beautiful sound that we hear is our own voice. So a lot of you might disagree with that, but there is some scientific backing to this. And so sometimes we just want to share, to hear our own stories repeated and to hear our own voice. And so we have to stop and pause and breathe and say, okay, wait a second. Is this information that I want to share, is it actually even necessary, or is it just noise? That's a good one. I didn't even think about that. The N could say, is it necessary or is it just noise? So is it necessary? Or you can even ask yourself, is it, I'm looking at this saying, like, did I spell that right? So is it necessary? Is it beneficial? Or is it just noise? Because we need less noise, right? The next one, the K in our think acronym, in my opinion, is really the most powerful one, the most important question to ask ourselves in wise speech. And the question, when we stop and we pause and we breathe, is it like, okay, is what I'm getting ready to share, is it kind? Are my words going to be kind? And the Dalai Lama epitomizes kindness. His teachings are always about compassion for others, compassion for living things, all living things, compassion for yourself, so self-compassion. And so we want to ask ourselves, is what I'm getting ready to share, is it kind? Is it compassionate? Because if it's not, then it's definitely not going to be timely. And then if it's not filtered with kindness and compassion, then you're not really being honest, or you're not speaking from your higher truth, your real honesty of who you are. And then if it's not kind, then guess what? You don't really have any really clear insight. You're not being insightful if you're speaking from a hurtful and a deliberately angry or hurtful place. And it's definitely not necessary. It's not necessary to be mean. Okay? So what's necessary is to be kind and to be compassionate to yourself and to others. So I'm going to write this one down real quick. Okay? And so you might notice, I got a little extra letter down here, the S. And I added this one because the S actually stands for silence. Hopefully you can see that. It's kind of hard to write there at the bottom, but the S stands for silence. Because sometimes the wisest speech that you can have is to not say anything at all. Silence can be wise speech. Because if it's not timely, honest, if it's not insightful, if it's not necessary, and if it's not kind and compassionate, silence is the better option. And again, with all the influx of noise that we have coming in all the time, billions of bits of information bombarding our brain, it would be a relief to have more silence, to have people listen more, to hear more, to be more introspective, to teach others how to be okay in silence, to be okay with quiet. Because what's happening is we have so much noise that we're not actually even comfortable being quiet or being silent or being still. So silence is powerful. It's a powerful, powerful practice. And I would invite you that even when you're going through all these principles of wise speech, maybe just go ahead, even if all of that you can answer yes to all of these questions. Is it timely? Is it honest? Is it insightful? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Even if you can answer yes to all of those, what if you still practice silence and just held space for someone? Held space for someone, or even just listened. That's it. Just listen intently to what they have to say without having to bring in your opinion or your insights or your experiences, but just really be there. That is probably the most powerful one outside of being compassionate. So I invite you just to bring in these questions. And it is practice. It takes practice. Everything, repetition and practice is what builds mastery. It builds self-mastery. And so we definitely want, we look around and we're like, oh yeah, I want this person to have some more self-mastery. But we ask ourselves first, do I have self-mastery? So I hope you found this really supportive and helpful. And definitely drop in the comments how the practice is going. And if you have any feedback, questions, definitely get in touch. I'm always super happy to support you wherever you are on your journey. And in the meantime, keep practicing, and I'll talk to you soon.